Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk Whisky. This week we've got another new whisky on offer here. We have the Elements of Islay, another independent bottling, a cool wee bottle shape, and a little bit of history to it as well. Elements of Islay is owned by Elixir, who is an independent bottler. It's been around for a long, long time. Sukhinder Singh, who owns the Whisky Exchange, he bought that in 1999. Fast forward, his love for whisky and his passion is still to this day is massive. He has so many different. He's got a couple of distilleries. He's got other brands. I've done Port Escape before, which is one. But Elements of Islay was actually here first. This was 2006 or 2008. I think Elements of Islay came out. And Elements of Islay started. You might have seen them before. Little bottles are kind of. It's like a wee potion. A wee idea of putting things together. And they named them in distilleries on the island of Islay after a couple of letters. So Lefroy was LP, Kalila I think was CL, and Ardbeg AD, and so forth. They made certain letters for them, and they brought them out, but they were 50 CL for a long, long time. I think it was only a few years ago when they moved them to 70 CL and 75 for export. This one here is pretty new. So this one here in our Elements of Islay I've got is called Fireside. So if we think straight away, this is going to be a peaty one. So it's a blended malt. So we know it's going to be from more than one distillery if it's a blended malt from the definition of blend and malts. So it's not blended whiskey, there's no grain within this or any other cereals. This is all malted barley, but from two distilleries, and the two distilleries are on Islay themselves. This here, I have opened this. As you can see, there's a little bit left, but I've had this sitting in the glass for a while, just due to the fact it's a peaty one. It's a high ABV. So we've got no age statement on it. Again, this is fine. It's 70 CL and it's a 54.5% ABV, and it's the limited release. Elements of Islay Fireside. They've got a core range as well. I think just they've got a standard, they've got a cask strength. I think there might be one more just as part of the core range of Elements of Islay I've tried before and I've enjoyed. I've just never actually reviewed them. I don't think I've actually got any here. So this one here is recharred hogsheads, sherry casks. So it's just sherry casks alone, and the casks that have been used here is European sherry, and it's also recharred American sherry oak casks as well. So we've got two differences. We've got your kind of drier style of sherry, and you've also got that sweeter style. The American oak can be different in the sherry casks that have been used compared to what we've got in the European ones. This in itself, from Islay, we've got two distilleries that it's been used. And I know the two distilleries that they've used them from, and the main one is Kalila, and the other, if we go on the back of this here, it's Islay's north coast, so something nearby Bunnahabhain. So there's our two. So two cracking distilleries in their own rights, but putting them together and trying to nail a recipe that you think the world's going to enjoy. They've brought this limited release out and they've put it in a glass. They've put it in a bottle, and I've now put it in the glass to see, is this limited release going to be up to scratch? Sukhinder has started his own distillery in Islay, which is due to open very soon, called Portnahaven, or Portnatroon, sorry. I always get that mixed up. Tormore as well is the main distillery that they've got at Tormore, and they've got loads of other different ones as well, from going out to rum and tequilas, etc. But we're sticking to this. This is about 60% Kalila, 30%, 40% Bunnahabhain. I'm unsure if it's peated Bunnahabhain or not, but we'll get into that in a second. You can see by the colour, I think we just need to get in. I'm getting a wee bit excited with it because the colour, the legs. I'm going to give it a wee second. I'm going to give it a wee close up for you guys to see. That is, it's sherry, but it's not over the top. It's not super dark that we can't see through. Oliver Chilton, who decides what whiskey goes into the bottle, the head blender for Elements of Islay, and also for Port Escape. I think by the colour of it, we're looking at a deep bronze, close to ruby, kind of maybe diluted red really, but the legs now, hopefully that can be captured. So I love the colour already, I love the legs, we can see viscosity, we can see the good stuff that I look for in a whisky in itself, and everything else is kind of hitting the spot so far. So as I say, ABV on this is 54.5%, it's a non-age statement, and believed to be between, 7 and 13 years of age is what I've been informed on this one. So we've got a bit of age to it, which is going to be great. But let's get this on the nose. Let's get this on the palate. I've got my wee water doser here as well, just in case we need to add a wee bit and see what goes on. But let's get this going. The legs are just great on it. For this to be a peated dram on the nose, I don't get that. I get a sweetness. There's a dryness. There's that potpourri. It's like a dried fruit, dried orange, soft. There's also a kind of maraschino cherry coming through. That little bit of coastalness I usually get from Islay, I can still get that as well. Both distilleries that the blend together is working. There's it's a bizarre leathery note, like a candied leather, boiled sweets, I think it's boiled sweets. So kind of dried orange. There's a softer, like maraschino cherry as well. There's a dryness and a sweetness. So I think this is from the American and the European oak. The differences within that. It's a good nose. The ABV, I'm able to get it in. I wouldn't call this a high ABV, even though it says it on there. But we'll get that on the palate and we'll see how that goes. So, slange everyone. Viscosity. It's chewy. There's that peat coming through now. It is not absolutely smashing me in the face peat. It's a great balanced peat that's coming through. If I wasn't to guess this straight away, I would be steering away from. I know it's not Ardbeg, I know it's not Lefroy, I know it's going to be something else in the island, but this balance so far on the palate, again, ABV wise, I am just not getting that 54.5. It tastes more mellow. It tastes, I say it's very, very, very chewy, which I love that in a dram. It's sweet. Candied sweets are still staying there. It's oily. That orange is coming through, and now the orange seems to be more as if it's been on a barbecue or a grill, and the juices have just dropped into the coal slightly. You've had a wee bit of orange after it. It's got that kind of slight burn to it. It's the sweetness in behind, a nice Valencian orange, if that makes more sense. Not just your standard supermarket was a Valencian orange. It's got the sweet notes to it. It's dropped onto the coals of a barbecue. The coastalness is staying there. That maraschino cherry on top. That nice glance of peat is now coming through. It's a slow burner on the peat, if that makes sense. It's not in your face. I don't get it on the nose, but I'm getting it on the palate. I can really get it now, and I like it, but it's not an intense. It's not, as I say, Lefroy and not Ardbeg. It's massively the bottle as well. I think everything that this bottle does and says is kind of got it on the tin. Right, what we need, the information I need to know, is all there from flavour profile, from a couple of tasting notes which I've just noticed. The maturation, the head blender, and our ABV is everything that we need. I've put a few drops of water in there just now. I'm going to see if that changes anything for us. On the nose, there's nothing much. More kind of that boiled sweets is staying there now. Potpourri still staying at the front. Not much has changed on the palate. If there's been anything, I think I prefer it without water. It's maybe got a wee bit drier just now, which is bizarre from adding a little bit of water. But the tasting notes in the nose for this for a whiskey, it's my style of whiskey. It's not overly sherried, even though it's to an extent a full sherry maturation. It's not this super dark, you can't see through sherry. It's a balance. We're still getting to see the style of Kalila and Bunnahabhain that have been blended together. I think this is a great whiskey. I think it's an absolutely great bottling. I think you're picking this up about 80, well, between 70 and £80, I think it's retailing at as well. Because it's limited release, I'm not too sure why, but that's one I need to go and try and find out. I'm going to go and sit back and enjoy this. I'm enjoying it already. I think it's a great, great dram. I think it hits all the notes that I like, and it's one that I'll continue to sample and share by the looks of it as well. So let me know if you've tried this before, any of the elements of Islay releases. But again, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and commenting. If you're not done so, feel free to do that. But as always, join me next week. Let's talk whiskey. Thanks.